I got eyes 170 south.
Copy 170 south. AC reinforced Aaron.
Hell Let Loose is a game that I made a video about a few months ago now, and the reception to the game has so far been very, very positive. If I can describe the game in one sentence, it's an authentic, teamwork, squad-based first-person shooter set in World War II. It's not an arcade shooter by any means, and the developers have stated that from the beginning, so you shouldn't expect crouch-sliding American soldiers with Thompson machine guns to be strafing across fields, reloading one magazine after the other, just pulling them out of their pockets. It's also a PC-only title, which might disappoint some potential players out there, but once you've read into this game a little bit more, I think it's very easy to understand why that is. The amount of roles, the amount of functions and strategy involved means there's a lot that you need to do as an individual soldier, and that's a lot of button presses. A controller just wouldn't suit what the developers are trying to build here. That, and perhaps the game with this level of realism, is just more at home on a PC platform. Now, a couple of weeks back, the developers posted up their first proper gameplay session that they've shown publicly so far. There's comms in there as well, and anyone can watch that, and I'm using that in the background for today's video. It gives you a very, very good feel for what this game is going to play like and what kind of stage they're at in development at the moment. There are multiple different infantry roles being used as a set of American soldiers are digging themselves into a farmhouse waiting for a German attack. And this is not just some made-up location either. This is a 1-to-1 scale of a section of land, roughly 4 kilometers square, inland from Utah Beach, called Sainte-Marie-du-Mont. The developers created it using historical archives and satellite images of the location, and they've brought it as close as they possibly can to what it would have looked like when this battle actually took place in 1944, which is a very big achievement for a small indie studio, so you can tell just how much work is going into this project. The battle that's depicted in this footage, however, is not simply occurring as a standalone battle. There can be up to 100 players on a server at any one time in Hell Let Loose, right across that 4-kilometer square map, and different zones on this map can be held by different teams. Now, the game has an underlying resource meta that will grant or take away different items from your team. The locations are divided up into different field locations, strategic bridges, small towns, and other locations, and whoever holds on to these will generate resources that your team can then use in the overall battle. Now, because there are so many different locations, what the developers intend is that the front line between the two teams will be changing all the time. Maybe seeing one team push through on a flank, whilst the other team then take advantage of lower player numbers in another sector. These resources include fuel depots, which will allow a team holding them to reinforce their infantry soldiers with vehicle presence. There are ammunition stockpiles, which will allow a naval bombardment with massive shells to continue against the enemy, if that's under your team's control. And there's also the possibility of overrunning enemy infantry reinforcement locations, which will keep the pressure on the enemy team. Each individual battle then has a very big effect on the overall gameplay that's going on the map at any one time, and a defeat over one side could lead to a breakthrough or a hold against the enemy team, could mean reinforcements stay on your team for longer and you're able to build up a counter-attack. So with you fighting alongside other players as infantry and vehicles, that will either bring you success or failure, depending on how each battle goes. But is there a true direction to the battle, or are you just fighting for different sections of land? Well, Hell Let Loose, besides all those other infantry and vehicle roles, has a commander role. The commander is the one player on your team who is directing the overall battle. He's calling the shots, and he's the person responsible for all the actions of his team. perhaps a squad has pushed up and captured a fuel depot. You can then radio back to the commander and ask them to reinforce you with a heavy vehicle which can then help defend what you've just captured. Engineers can be reassigned to that sector so they can build deadly machine gun nests alongside roads leading to that depot, which might then make a trap for the enemy. The commander is responsible for all of these kind of moves, but it's the other players on the map at the time that have to execute those orders, so the ground that you've just won isn't immediately lost again to an enemy attack. This kind of depth to the gameplay is not something that you find in your average shooter game, and that same mentality appears to have been applied to the different items in the game that you will use as a soldier or as a vehicle driver. Weapon detailing in these screenshots just looks incredible, and although we haven't seen vehicle gameplay yet, so we'll have to defer judgment until later, and there will be gameplay of that coming down the line, some of the screenshots again do look very, very good. The game is built on the Unreal Engine 4, so there's always a lot of scale when it comes to presentation. Some games using this engine can look stunning, like this one does, whilst others don't use its full potential because perhaps it's not needed. Hell Let Loose looks like a game where the developers are going big on quality to keep up that realistic feeling. Now, of course, all of this detail, all of these actions, all of the communication going backwards and forwards between different players, and you have to remember there can be up to 100 of them on the map at any one time, that's going to require some good networking backbone. Now, the developers have committed to supplying dedicated servers for Hell Let Loose when it launches into Steam Early Access, which is really, really good to hear. The scope of the game they're trying to create is just vast, and running that on poor networking infrastructure, I think would have led to disaster. Now, the Kickstarter for the game has already surpassed the funding goal set out by the developers, which is great for them, but as always with these kind of ventures, I will state that this is not a finished product, and there's no guarantee it will actually make it to be a finished product. Many Kickstarter-funded ventures will get hit with lengthy delays, sometimes even complete cancellations. So if you like the look of this game, and you want to back it, make sure you're aware of what could happen in the future. That said, the developers do appear to have a clear path for what they want to do moving forward with producing the game and releasing it, which is a good sign overall. I'll leave a link to the official website for Hell Let Loose in the description, so you can go and have a look at all the information the developers are publicly releasing at the moment, so you can make up your own mind about this game. But this is something that I'm excited to see improve. As I mentioned, the developers have a goal to release this game onto Steam Early Access in 2018, but it's clear from the footage at the moment, the game is still very much in an early alpha state. What I'd like to see next from the developers is some sort of showcase of the combined arms nature of this game. Some vehicle gameplay alongside infantry gameplay and how that can affect the battle and how the infantry and the vehicles can work together in order to enhance the battle and bring it in your favour. From the sounds of things, the vehicles are going to be a big reinforcement piece and they sound extremely powerful, as they should be. But what interests me most is how much work is going to be required from infantry to bring down one of these things. From the infantry roles that we are aware of at the moment, it seems multiple different roles will be needed to bring one down and destroy one together, rather than just one soldier going out on their own and trying to destroy a tank. But there you go, that's your update on Hell Let Loose and what it's looking like at the moment. Thank you very much for watching today, guys, and make sure you let me know your thoughts and opinions on Hell Let Loose down below in the comments section. And don't forget to check out the Hell Let Loose page for even more information about this game, because really it's something you need to read up on and decide if this is a game that interests you or not. It does seem very, very in-depth, and that is not going to be for everyone, especially if you're used to more arcade shooters. Is this going to be a game for you? The more realistic, gritty experience? Or is it something that you're going to pass on? We do have another World War II shooter on the horizon, coming from the Call of Duty franchise, so at the moment there are more and more options popping up in the historical shooter scene. But as I say, let me know what you're thinking down below in the comments, and I'll be down there reading, as always, as many as I can. But until next time, my name is Westie, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.